Hi guys, welcome back to the session. So today we are going to discuss state machine in UiPath. So state machine is one of the workflow types in UiPath that uses finite number of states in the project. So let's explore the term states with the help of a project Guess the Number. So in this project, there is a random number which we need to guess. So here there are three different possibilities. So the guess number, it could be greater than random number. The number which we guess, it could be less than random number. And the number which we guess, it could be equal to random number. So we have these three possibilities over here. And these three possibilities are set to be three possible states of the project. So if you have any project which deals with multiple states like this, state machines are going to be very helpful for those projects. Now coming back to our scenario, let's say that we have a guess number which is greater than random number or less than random number. So in such cases, we need to guess the number again. That means we will retry. But if we guess the number which is equal to random number, that means we don't need to retry. This is our final state. So how this project will work in UiPath, let's look into that and then we will create this project together. So this is guess the number project in UiPath. I will quickly run the project to see how it works. So let's quickly run the project. And we got the message as random number is generated. So UiPath has generated this random number using random number function. So let's press OK. And we got this input dialog to guess any number between 1 to 10. So let's say that I guessed the number as 5. Let's press OK. And we got this retry message, guess number is smaller than the random number, try greater number. So we need to try with a greater number than 5. So let's press OK. Let's say that I provided the number again as 9. So let's press OK again. And again we got the retry as guess number is greater than the random number, try a smaller number. So now we need to try with a smaller number. So let's press OK again and let's say that I tried with 7. Let's press OK and it says congratulations, you have guessed the correct number. That means UiPath had generated the random number as 7 which we guessed in the third attempt. So let's press OK. So this was Guess the Number project. I hope the project is clear to you. So let's create this project together. So to create this project, first I will move to home. I will click on process to create a new project and let's give the name as Guess the Number. My project will be stored in this location and let's give the description as this is a demo on state machine. Okay, so let's click on create. So we are in the UiPath design page. We are in the project tab. Let's double click on the main. And here we need to drop the activities, and first and foremost activity we need to add is a workflow type, and we are talking about the workflow type as state machine. So let's add the state machine workflow type over here. So for that I will move to activities tab. Let's press activities tab and let's search for the state machine workflow type over here. So the state machine workflow type is present in the recent and it is also available under workflow, state machine and state machine. So let's drag and drop the state machine over here. So let's double click on the state machine. So the state machine workflow starts with a start node, and let's quickly check what all activities we can use under the state machine workflow. So if you see over here under state machine, we have two activities, final state and the state. So these two activities we will look one by one. First, let's start with the state activity. Let's drag and drop it over here. So if you drop it over the triangular icon, it will be connected with the start. So that is connected now, and now we will quickly check this state activity, what all thing we can do under the state activity. So double click on the state, and in the state we have three options: entry, exit and transition. So let's look into them. So in the state, the first option is entry. So entry contains the activities which we wish to execute while entering the state. And after that we have exit. So exit contains the activities which we wish to execute while exiting the state. So we'll look into the transition in few minutes. Let's first focus on entry and exit. So first of all, in our project we need to generate a random number. So for that, in the entry I'm going to add a assign activity. So let's search for the assign activity over here. So this is the assign activity. I'm going to drag and drop it over here, and in the value I'm going to write the function to generate random number. So I'm going to give new random dot next, and I wish to generate a random number between 1 to 10. That's why I have provided the value as 1 to 10. So my function looks like this. You can see it over here. Let me expand this one a bit. So you can see over here my function looks like this: new random dot next 1 to 10. So why 1 to 10? Because I wish a number to be generated between 1 to 10. So this random number which will be generated, I want to assign it to a variable. So let's quickly create a variable now. So let's move to variables. Let's move to variables, and let's create a variable as random number, and it will be a variable type string int 32, and the scope will be, let's give the scope as state machine. And I'm also going to create another variable, guess number. So this will be the variable where my guess number will be stored, and the variable type will be int 32, and again the scope will be the state machine. So I have created two variables now, and the random number which will be generated by this function will be assigned to the random number variable. So far so good. I have used the assign function to generate a random number. Now I have provided the activity in the entry. Let's provide an activity in the exit as well. I'm going to add a message box in the exit option. So let's drag and drop it over here, and I'm going to give the message as random number is generated. So I have added over here entry and exit activities. Let's skip this transition as of now. We'll see in few minutes. And we have an error over here. State random number must have at least one transition. So let's have it as of now. Let's move to state machine again. And we have a random number generated. Now we need to guess this random number. So for that I'm going to again use another state. Let's add a state over here. We have a state activity over here as well. So let's drag and drop it over here. So as soon as you connected this random number state to this new state, you can see this error message about the transition is gone. Why? Because this state is now connected to the this state. So this new state is added. Let's do some work in this state as well. Let's double click on the state. So first of all, let's change its name to guess number, and here we need to guess a number. So for that we need a input dialog activity. So let's search for input dialog activity over here. So let's drag and drop it over here, and let's give the title as enter the number, and let's give the label as guess any number between 1 to 10. So during runtime, an input dialog will be displayed stating guess any number between 1 to 10, and user needs to provide the number, and that number will be stored in the guess number variable which we have created. This is the guess number variable which we have created. So how to do that? How to place the user input in the guess number? So for that we'll move to properties. This is the property of the input dialog. We'll move to output, and in result I'm going to set the value as guess number. So we'll get an input dialog, and the user will provide the number, and that number will be stored in the guess number variable. So this is the guess number state where we have provided the entry, and let's skip the exit as of now, and let's discuss about the transition. So the transition enables to add conditions to jump from one state to another. So let's try to understand this transition with the help of an example. So we had three possible states in our project. So let's say that we had a random number of 8, but we guessed the number 9, that is greater than random number, and we guessed the number as 5, which is less than the random number. So in these two conditions, we need to retry. That means we need to provide the input as a guess number again. So in terms of transition, what we can say, we moved from the guess number state to guess number state. That means the state didn't change. So let's try to understand this in UiPath. So here, if we provide a number which is less than or greater than random number, so in that case, we need to provide the input again. So in this case, in terms of transition, we can say that we moved from guess number state to guess number state again. So let's see how we can add transitions for these cases. So for that, I will move to state machine, and this is the guess number state, and the transition will start from guess number and end at guess number. So for that, I will hold my mouse and I will start pointing from guess number and I will end pointing to guess number again. So you can see this is my transition got created. Let's double click over transition, and you can see three sections of the transition. First one is trigger, second is condition, and the third is action. So let's start looking into these sections. So first one is trigger. We can skip this trigger as of now. Let's focus on the condition. And first condition I would like to add over here is guess number greater than random number. So in case my guess number is greater than random number, I want to display a message over here. Let's add a message box. Let's drag and drop it over here. And I'm going to give the message as guessed number is greater than random number. Try a smaller one. And let's give the rename this message box as retry. So in case we provide a guess number which is greater than random number, then we will be having a message box stating that guess number is greater than random number, try a smaller one. And let's quickly change the name of this transition as well. Let's give the name as try smaller. Okay, so we are done with this condition. Let's add another transition for other condition. So let's move to state machine again. So I have added a transition for guess number. Let's add another transition as well. So for that, again, I will start pointing from guess number, holding the mouse and again pointing to the guess number. So my another transition got created. Let's double click on that. So let's skip the trigger section as of now. Let's provide the condition, and now I'm going to provide the condition as guess number less than random number. And let's add a message box over here again. Let's give the name of the message as retry, and let's give the message as guess number is less than random number, try a greater one. And I'll change the name of this transition as well. So let's give the name of the transition as try greater. So let's move to state machine. So here we have provided two transitions for conditions where guess number is less than or greater than random number. We have one more transition to add for the final state, that is when the guess number will be equal to random number. So this will be our final state, and to work on the final state, to move to final state, we need to add another activity, that is final state activity. And this final state contains the entry option, and this entry specifies the actions which will occur when this state is transitioned to. So let's move to UiPath to see what we need to add in the entry of this final state. So So here we are going to add a final state activity now. So let's search for the final state activity. Let's drag and drop it over here. Let's double click on the final state. It has only the entry section. Let's add a message box over here, and I'm going to give the message as congratulations, you have guessed correct number. Okay, and I will add another message box over here. We can add these two messages as well, but for better understanding I have added two messages, and I'm going to give over here the value of the random number, because during the runtime we would not know the value of the random number before this message box. So let's give the message as random number value is, let's add a plus sign, let's add random number, and since it is an integer we need to convert it into string because message box cannot take a integer value. So let's press a dot and convert it to string. So we have provided all the details in the final state. Let's move to state machine, and now we need to connect this guess number state to this final state with the transition. So I'm going to start to add a transition from guess number. Let's start by holding the mouse and drop the mouse over here. So this is connected with this transition. So let's double click over here. So again, let's skip the trigger. Let's add a condition over here. Guess number equal to random number, and let's skip this action section as of now. Let's give the transition name as correct guess, and we have provided all the details inside this transition as well. Let's move back to state machine. So this is how our project looks like. We have first generated the random number, then we guessed the random number with the help of input dialog box, and for three possible states we have three transitions over here: try greater, try smaller, and correct guess. So we have three transitions over here, and we have one more transition. So random number and guess number is also connected using a transition. So if I open this one, so this is the transition which is completely blank. We have not provided any value over here. And one very important thing to notice over here is that in any project we can have only one transition which doesn't have the values of both trigger and condition. So we have satisfied the condition. We have provided only one transition which doesn't have the value of both trigger and condition. So let's move to state machine again. So our project is ready now. Let's quickly run it to see how it works. So I'll save the project and let's run the project, and we have a message box random number is generated. So let's press OK, and now we need to guess the number. So let's provide the value as 5. Let's press OK again, and we got a retry message: guess number is less than random number, try a greater one. So we need to try a greater number. We have provided the number 5, and now we need to try a greater one. So let's provide the number as 9, and we again got retry: guess number is greater than random number, try a smaller one. So we need to try with a smaller one. We have already tried with 5 and 9. Let's try with 7. Let's press OK, and it says congratulations, you have guessed correct number. So now we have guessed the correct number. Let's press OK, and random number value is 7. So press OK again. So this was our project, guess the number, using the state machine workflow type, which is very helpful if we have multiple states in the project. And that's all for this session, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and share with your friends, and hit the bell button to get the updates on the latest videos. And I'll see you soon in the next one. Bye bye.